In the vast theatre of the natural world, the rules often seem stark and unforgiving. Survival is paramount, and the drive to pass on one's own genes dictates much of what we see. Yet, every so often, nature presents us with a story that defies these simple rules, a moment of baffling tenderness that cuts across the boundaries of species. This is the curious phenomenon of interspecies adoption, where an animal takes on the immense responsibility of raising the young of another, sometimes even a traditional rival or prey. It is a behavior that seems to spring from a place of pure instinct, yet it challenges our very understanding of what instinct is supposed to achieve, forcing us to look closer at the intricate and often surprising emotional lives of animals. These are not mere fairy tales or isolated anecdotes. They are documented events that have left scientists both puzzled and fascinated. From the skies above to the depths of the ocean, we find these remarkable stories of foster care. Why would a powerful predator, whose life is built on the hunt, suddenly decide to nurture a creature it would normally view as a meal? What triggers this parental switch, causing an animal to invest precious time, energy, and resources into the offspring of a complete stranger from another species? The answers are as varied and complex as the animals themselves, ranging from mistaken identity to calculated, albeit unconscious, mutual benefit. As we delve into these extraordinary tales, we begin to see that the lines we draw between species are perhaps more porous than we once believed. The maternal or paternal drive can be a force so powerful that it overrides long-established animosities and biological programming. These adoptions offer a precious window into the mechanics of animal behavior, revealing the powerful hormonal and psychological triggers that govern parenting. They show us that nature is not always a relentless battle for supremacy, but can also be a place of unexpected alliances and profound, if perplexing, acts of compassion that resonate deeply with our own sense of empathy and connection. Each story of adoption is a mystery waiting to be unraveled. It prompts us to ask fundamental questions about the nature of family, the definition of kinship, and the very essence of care. In a world governed by the relentless logic of evolution, where every action is supposedly a calculation for survival, these acts of selfless rearing stand out as beautiful anomalies. They remind us that the animal kingdom is still full of surprises, holding secrets that continue to challenge our assumptions and expand our appreciation for the rich and wonderfully strange tapestry of life on Earth. Let us now explore some of the most weird and wonderful examples of adoption ever witnessed. The eagle is a symbol of power and predatory prowess, a master of the skies whose sharp eyes and even sharper talons are instruments of a lethal hunter. These magnificent raptors build their nests high above the world, raising their own chicks with fierce devotion. It is from these high-altitude nurseries that one of the most baffling adoption stories emerges. Observers have been stunned to find that eagles, including the majestic bald eagle and the white-tailed sea eagle, will sometimes raise the chicks of other smaller birds of prey. A red-tailed hawk chick, for instance, has been seen being fed and cared for alongside its much larger eagle siblings, a tiny, bewildered guest in the nest of a giant. The most likely explanation for this bizarre family dynamic is not one of conscious choice, but of a simple, almost comical mistake. An adult eagle, soaring high on the hunt, likely snatches a chick from a nearby nest, intending it as a meal for its own hungry brood. But somewhere on the journey back, something remarkable happens. The parental instinct, a powerful and overwhelming force, seems to take over. The eagle arrives at its nest, not with prey, but with a new chick to feed. Once the small raptor is in the nest, surrounded by the eagle's own offspring, its identity as food is seemingly forgotten, overwritten by the drive to nurture any small, cheeping mouth that begs for sustenance. This behavior has been observed on multiple occasions, providing scientists with a fascinating glimpse into the eagle's mind. It suggests that their social recognition skills might not be as finely tuned as their hunting abilities. For these solitary nesters, anything small and helpless in their nursery is treated as family. Conservationists have even cleverly taken advantage of this parental blunder. In carefully managed programs, they have used eagles as foster parents to raise the chicks of rarer, more endangered raptor species. The mighty eagle, through its own peculiar oversight, becomes an unwitting but effective ally in the preservation of its own kind, a testament to the raw power of parental instinct. The fate of these adopted chicks is a mixed one. They must compete for food with their larger, more aggressive nestmates, a challenge that not all survive. However, those that do are raised with all the care an eagle parent can provide. They fledge from the nest and fly out into the world, having spent their formative weeks in the care of their species' natural competitor. These instances reveal that the law of the jungle, or in this case the sky, is not always as ruthless as we imagine. Sometimes a simple case of mistaken identity can lead to an act of unintended, life-saving kindness, showcasing the beautiful and often illogical quirks of animal behavior. The eastern screech owl is a creature of the night, a silent hunter that brings food back to its owlets, hidden away in the hollows of trees. Typically, any prey brought to the nest is dispatched quickly and efficiently. That is why researchers in Texas were so perplexed when they began finding live, wriggling snakes among the fluffy owlets. These were not just any snakes, they were Texas blind snakes, small, burrowing creatures that posed no threat to the young birds. Instead of being eaten, these snakes were being kept as peculiar, live-in housekeepers, a behavior that turns our understanding of predator-prey relationships completely on its head. Over an 11-year study, scientists discovered this was no fluke. They found that nearly 1 in 5 screech owl nests had at least one of these serpentine lodgers. The adult owls would capture the blind snakes and bring them to the nest alive, an unusual practice for a bird that normally kills its food first. Once inside the nest, the snakes would burrow into the debris at the bottom, a messy mix of leftover food, feathers, and droppings. There, they would feast on the insects and fly larvae that thrive in such an environment. These parasites can be deadly to young owlets, so the snakes were performing a vital sanitation service. This extraordinary relationship appears to be a rare case of mutual benefit, orchestrated by the owl. The snake gets a safe place to live with an abundant food supply, so safe in fact that one was even observed reproducing within the nest. The owls in turn get a healthier nursery for their young. The data collected by researchers was clear. Owlets raised in nests with a resident blind snake grew faster, had lower mortality rates, and were more likely to survive to fledge. The presence of the snake directly contributed to the owl's breeding success, making the nest a safer, cleaner home for the vulnerable chicks. What this suggests is a level of sophisticated, perhaps even deliberate behavior on the part of the parent owls. While we cannot know for sure if the owls consciously understand the benefits, their actions have a clear and positive outcome. They are not adopting the snake as a child, but rather as a symbiotic partner, a live-in pest control expert. This fascinating arrangement shows that animals are capable of forming complex multi-species relationships that go far beyond simple predation. The owl and the blind snake have created a unique partnership that benefits both, a clever solution to the challenges of raising a family in the wild. The oceans are vast, and the societies within them are complex. Bottlenose dolphins, known for their intelligence and sociability, live in close-knit family groups called pods. It was within one such pod, in the waters of French Polynesia, that scientists in 2014 witnessed something truly astonishing. A female bottlenose dolphin, who had recently given birth to her own calf, was seen caring for another very different baby, a melon-headed whale calf. This was not a fleeting interaction, but a long-term adoption that would last for years, challenging everything we thought we knew about maternal bonds in marine mammals. The tiny whale calf, estimated to be less than a month old when it was first spotted, was fully accepted into the dolphin's family. The mother dolphin, who was noted by researchers for her uniquely curious and sociable personality, treated the whale as her own. She nursed it and protected it, raising it alongside her biological offspring. For nearly 4 years, the young whale lived as a dolphin. It learned to leap and breach just like its adoptive siblings and socialized freely with the other members of the pod. It even competed with the dolphin's own calf for its mother's attention and milk, a classic sign of sibling rivalry. The reasons behind this remarkable adoption remain a subject of scientific speculation. The mother dolphin was young and inexperienced. It was her first time giving birth, and her own biological calf mysteriously disappeared not long after the whale was accepted. It is possible that her powerful maternal hormones, combined with her inquisitive nature, led her to accept the orphaned whale calf as a surrogate. The persistent nurturing behavior of the young whale, desperate for a mother, may have triggered and sustained her parental response. Whatever the cause, the bond was real and enduring, a testament to the dolphin's capacity for care. The story, however, does not have a clear ending. After 2018, the whale calf was no longer seen with the pod, and its ultimate fate is unknown. The mother dolphin went on to have another natural calf, resuming a more conventional family life. But for those few years, she was the mother to a child of a different species, a different genus entirely. This incredible case of interspecies adoption in the open ocean shows us that the instinct to nurture can be so strong that it transcends biological boundaries. It is a poignant reminder that even in the seemingly alien world beneath the waves, the bonds of family can form in the most unexpected and beautiful ways. In the animal kingdom, lions and leopards are ancient rivals. They compete for the same territory and the same food, and their encounters are often violent. Lions are a leading cause of death for leopards, ruthlessly eliminating them as competition. This is what made the discovery in India's Gir forest so utterly unbelievable. A lioness, a mother to her own 3 young cubs, was observed doing the unthinkable. She had adopted a tiny, spotted leopard cub. She treated this natural enemy as one of her own, allowing it to nurse alongside her cubs and share in the meals she provided, an act of grace that defied all biological logic. For several weeks she protected it, fed it, and groomed it with the same maternal devotion she showed her own offspring. Researchers were baffled. Lions and leopards are both in the Panthera genus, meaning they are related, but this is not nearly close enough to explain such behavior. One theory suggests the lioness's inexperience played a role. The incident provided a rare glimpse into the flexibility of animal behavior, showing that even the most ingrained animosities can be temporarily suspended by the powerful chemical cocktail of motherhood. Tragically, this unique family was not destined to last. After about 45 days, the little leopard cub was found to have died. An autopsy revealed the cause was not rejection or conflict, but a congenital hernia it had likely suffered from since birth. While the story ended in sadness, the event itself remains a profound example of nature's capacity for surprise. For a short time, in a corner of an Indian forest, the deep-seated rivalry between 2 of the world's great cats was forgotten. A lioness saw not an enemy, but simply a child in need of a mother, a powerful and moving testament to the unpredictable nature of the wild. The cuckoo bird is infamous for its parenting strategy, or rather, its lack thereof. It is the quintessential freeloader of the avian world, a brood parasite that lays its eggs in the nests of other unsuspecting birds, leaving them to do all the hard work of raising its young. Many cuckoo species have evolved ruthless tactics. Their chicks will often push the host's own eggs or hatchlings out of the nest to ensure they receive all the food and attention. But the great spotted cuckoo has a different, more complex relationship with its hosts, primarily magpies and crows. It engages in what can only be described as a mafia-style protection racket. Magpies are highly intelligent birds, perfectly capable of recognizing a foreign egg in their nest and promptly tossing it out. The great spotted cuckoo has evolved a brutal countermeasure to this. If a magpie pair rejects the cuckoo's egg, the cuckoo parent will return and viciously destroy their entire nest, ruining their chance to reproduce for the season. This act of retaliation creates a powerful incentive for the magpies to comply and accept the parasitic egg. It is a dark and coercive form of adoption, where the foster parents raise the cuckoo chick not out of love or confusion, but out of fear for their own family's safety. However, the story has another surprising twist. Unlike their more murderous cousins, great spotted cuckoo chicks do not kill their nestmates. They are demanding and monopolize a large share of the food, but they allow the magpie's own chicks to survive alongside them. Furthermore, the cuckoo chick provides an unexpected and highly valuable service. When threatened by a predator like a cat or another bird of prey, the cuckoo chick excretes a foul-smelling, sticky substance. This chemical defense is so repulsive that it deters attackers, effectively protecting not just the cuckoo itself, but the entire nest full of magpie chicks as well. This creates a fascinating trade-off for the magpie parents. In areas where the risk of predation is high, raising a cuckoo chick can actually be beneficial. While the cuckoo is a burden taking up resources and food, its presence increases the overall survival rate of the magpie's own offspring. The parasitic chick becomes a smelly, feathered bodyguard. This complex relationship blurs the line between parasitism and mutualism. It is not an adoption born of affection, but a calculated evolutionary bargain, where the host bird, under duress, ends up gaining a surprising and stinky advantage from its unwanted guest. Not all behavior that looks like adoption is driven by a nurturing instinct. Sometimes the motivations can be far stranger and more unsettling. On the isolated Jicaron Island off the coast of Panama, scientists observed a bizarre phenomenon among the resident white-faced capuchin monkeys. Young male capuchins were seen repeatedly abducting and carrying baby howler monkeys. At first glance, it might have seemed like a clumsy attempt at cross-species care, but the reality was much darker. This was not true adoption. It was a strange, obsessive game played by the Capuchins, a game that the baby howlers were not meant to survive. The behavior reportedly began with one subadult male and soon spread to others within the group, a kind of social trend. These young monkeys would snatch the howler infants and carry them around for hours, sometimes even swapping them amongst themselves like treasured objects. The tiny howler monkeys, clearly distressed, would cling to the capuchins while their frantic parents tried desperately to rescue them, only to be repelled by the larger, more aggressive capuchins. The capuchins showed no signs of providing actual care. They did not feed or properly comfort the infants. It was a form of object play, with a living, terrified creature as the toy. Researchers theorize that this disturbing behavior may be a product of the island's unique environment. Jicaron Island is a monkey paradise of sorts, with abundant food and a complete absence of natural predators. For intelligent, energetic animals like capuchins, this life of ease may lead to profound boredom and understimulation. Young males, in particular, are often the innovators of new and sometimes peculiar behaviors in primate societies. The adoption of howler babies may have started as a way to alleviate this boredom, a novel activity that provided stimulation in an otherwise predictable world. This case serves as a crucial reminder that we must be careful when interpreting animal behavior through a human lens. What appears to be an act of nurturing can be something else entirely. The capuchins were not driven by parental instinct, but by a complex mix of social learning, curiosity, and possibly a lack of appropriate outlets for their energy and intelligence. The story of the Jicaron Capuchins is a sad and cautionary tale. It highlights that the interactions between species are not always benign, and that the appearance of adoption can sometimes mask a behavior that is misguided, harmful, and ultimately fatal for the adoptee. Perhaps the most consequential adoption in the history of our planet was not between two wild animals, but between our own ancestors and a formidable predator, the wolf. The domestication of the dog is a story that stretches back tens of thousands of years, and one of the leading theories suggests it all began with an act of interspecies adoption. Long before wolves evolved into the loyal companions that share our homes today, ancient humans may have taken wolf pups from their dens and raised them. This act, repeated over countless generations, likely set in motion the evolutionary journey from wild wolf to domestic dog. This theory challenges the older idea that wolves simply domesticated themselves by scavenging around human encampments. While that may have played a part, the pet-keeping or adoption hypothesis points to a more active role played by humans. Evidence for this can be seen in the practices of more recent hunter-gatherer societies. Indigenous peoples in North America and Australia have been documented taming wolf and dingo pups, respectively, keeping them as companions, hunting partners, and sentinels. These relationships show that bringing a young, wild canid into the human family unit is a plausible and recurring behavior. For this process to have worked, our ancestors would have needed to acquire the wolf pups at a very young age. Wolves have a very short critical socialization window, a brief period early in life when they form their primary social bonds. If a pup is raised by humans during this window, it will see them as its family, its pack. A wolf socialized in this way would be tamer, less fearful of humans, and more integrated into the human group. These tamer wolves would have been more likely to breed near human settlements, passing on their more docile traits to the next generation and kickstarting the process of domestication. The motivations for adopting a wolf pup would have been numerous. These animals offered security, with their keen senses providing an early warning system against predators or rival human groups. They could have assisted in hunting, helping to track and corner prey, but perhaps the most powerful motivation was simply companionship. The desire to form bonds with other living creatures is a deeply human trait. By bringing a wolf cub into the family, our ancestors did not just gain a tool, they gained a friend. This ancient adoption was not just weird, it was world-changing, forging the first and most enduring partnership between humans and another species. The stories of animal adoption are more than just curious footnotes in the grand book of nature. They are profound lessons in the flexibility and complexity of life. From the eagle that forgets its prey is food to the lioness that nurtures her enemy's child, we see the raw, untamable power of parental instinct. This drive can be so potent that it smashes through the rigid walls we often imagine separating species, creating families bound not by blood but by a shared, urgent need for care and protection. These events force us to reconsider the simplicity of survival of the fittest and appreciate the nuanced, often surprising emotional landscapes of other creatures. Each case reveals a different motivation, a different piece of the puzzle. Sometimes it is a simple mistake, a misfiring of instinct as seen with the eagle. At other times it is a complex, mutually beneficial arrangement like the owl that employs a snake as a nursery cleaner. It can be a coercive bargain, as with the cuckoo and the magpie, or a misguided game born of boredom, as demonstrated by the Capuchin monkeys. And in the case of humans and wolves, it was an adoption that altered the course of history for both species, forging a bond that endures to this day. There is no single simple explanation for these behaviors. What these weird and wonderful adoptions ultimately teach us is a lesson in humility. They remind us that the natural world is not a predictable machine, but a dynamic and ever-surprising system. The rules are not always as strict as we think, and the capacity for connection can appear in the most unlikely of places. These animals are not acting out of a sense of moral virtue. They are following biological and psychological urges that we are only just beginning to understand. Their actions reveal the deep, ancient programming for parenthood that we ourselves share, a force that can create families in the most unconventional of forms. As we continue to observe the world around us, we must remain open to these wonderful contradictions. They challenge our assumptions and enrich our understanding of what it means to be alive. The dolphin raising a whale, the owl rooming with a snake, the lioness mothering a leopard. These are not just oddities, they are windows into the intricate, mysterious, and often deeply moving heart of nature itself. They show us that family is not always defined by shared genes, but sometimes by a shared moment of vulnerability and an unexpected, powerful response of kindness.